November is the month of ginormous books. That is what this month is going to be focused on. Hi there everyone and welcome back to my vlog. I am so excited because today we're going to be talking about my November TBR. Could I keep reading spooky books? Yes, but I feel like I can't really read that many spooky books, but I also can't fully transition into Christmas books or like wintry books yet. So where does that leave me? Apparently at humongous fantasy books. I'm not mad about it. Truly I'm not, but it is a bit intimidating when I lift them up and I see how many pages I would like to read. However, actually me and my fiance are getting married this month, so we are going to have 8 days on our honeymoon, so I should have plenty of time to get through a few of my bigger books. If I don't read 10 books during that time, like that's okay, because I'm going to be knocking out some like really big ones that I want to get through. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, there will be a lot of fantasy books and I hope to really stick to this one because I need to get through them. I need to stop being intimidated by them and I actually just need to sit down and read them because I know I'm going to have such a good time with them when I do that. So I have 10 books on my November TBR so far, so let's get started. First, while I would love to get to this before the month of October is over, I realize that I do not read that fast nor really have the time to read as much as I'd like to. So one of my first books, I think, in November will be One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This book just looks so interesting to me and I've heard nothing but good things about it. I believe this book focuses on a young child and in this kingdom there has been this plague that has gotten a lot of the children, and when somebody gets the plague they have to be essentially like unalived. So our main character ends up getting this plague, but a monster actually, like I think comes into her head and just protects her and fights off this infection, but now resides in her. I have no idea how that works, but it sounds super interesting and I feel like the cover art really helps, I think, with that visual. Like it's just so stunning. So I think that this is going to be so interesting, and I know that Two Twisted Crowns just came out, so that's like the second book in the series. And I don't know, I just really want to get to it. It's one of those books that's really drawing me in. Next, I don't have it yet because it hasn't come out, but yes indeed, it is finally time to read Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I am so much looking forward to this. It's very funny because I believe this comes out on November 7th and my wedding is on November 11th, so catch me the night of the rehearsal dinner just cooped up in my hotel room like reading this book because I'm so excited about it. I feel like we've been waiting for it for a while, but really it hasn't been that long since Fourth Wing came out. So I think it's just going to be so good, especially with how Fourth Wing left off. Also, did I get the special edition Fourth Wing book? Yes, I did. Do I already have the original first edition with the sprayed edges on it? Yes, I do. But they are just so beautiful. I could not pass it up, so I am going to be getting those. I believe they're supposed to come in on November 8th. So I am really looking forward to this and continuing on with this series. Fourth Wing is one of the most popular books, I believe, of 2023. So if you haven't read it yet, it's essentially about this woman named Violet who is in this war college, and she's been training her entire life to be a scribe and be among texts for her entire life. But her mother, who is a high-ranking sergeant in the war college, has demanded her pretty much that she go into the war college. So the Dragon Riders College, she needs to go try to be a dragon rider even though she is not physically really fit or has been training for this. So we get to watch her as she's getting through, I guess, like her first year there. And so this next book, I believe, is going to be focused on her second year there. So the end of the first book just made everything so interesting, and I feel like the little bits and pieces we've been getting from Rebecca Yarros has been really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to how this plays out. And I'm super interested to see about the love interest because we've been told that this is a 5-book series, and it seems like we already have like narrowed in on our love interest, and we know how that works. Either they are going to turn out to be not who they are in the first book or potentially unalived. There are just so many theories about what could happen to the main love interest, and is it too much to hope for a happily ever after the first book? Definitely. Do I hope for it anyway? Absolutely. So very much looking for this one to come out on November 7th. Next, it is finally time to pick up House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first in the Crescent City series, and we all know that the third book is going to come out in January, and that is going to be like a huge deal because there's going to be, I believe, crossovers from all of the other worlds that Miss Maas has created. So I have to get into this, even though looking at it gives me a slight heart attack. But then I think about the fact that I read Kingdom of Ash, which is almost 1,000 pages, and I feel a little bit better about it, but I just haven't heard the most like exciting things about this book. Everybody I think struggles with this series a bit more. Like when I think of fantasy worlds, I don't really think of modern day, and I think there's like clubs and cell phones in this, and to me that just seems super off, and maybe I'll really enjoy it and have a good time with it, but just like for a fantasy world, that doesn't really strike me as what I typically want out of it. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm trying to get it through Libby, and I might even just like purchase it for my Kindle because I can't see that there are that many pages left. Like when I'm 100 pages in, I want to be a fourth or like a third of the way done with the book. With this, let's see how many pages there are. So there are 799 pages, like that's the end of the epilogue. So that's like an eighth of the book. 100 pages is like an eighth of the book, and it's just going to seem like the smallest like dent. Like it should be a big chunk, it's a small dent. I am very intimidated by it, but I want to read this in November and then read House of Sky and Breath in December and then be ready to get into the next book in January. That's the plan. Next, giving myself a break from the fantasy, and because this is on Kindle Unlimited, King of Pride by Anna Wong. I read King of Wrath. King of Greed just came out. So I read King of Wrath and I really enjoyed that one. I have not read the Twisted series by Anna Wong, but I really enjoyed that one because it was like a billionaire romance, marriage of convenience, and this focuses on, I believe, one of like the quieter guys. I believe this is like the shy guy. I love a shy guy. So this will just like be a fun like palette cleanser during the month, and then I can get to King of Greed. What did I just say? King of Greed. Oh gosh, okay, I'm reading the back of this book right now, and it says, no matter how hard they try, they can't resist giving in to their forbidden desires, even if it costs them everything. So maybe like forbidden love as well. I wouldn't be mad about it. Those are my favorites. This should be really fun and just like, again, a good palette cleanser. It's a little over 300. Oh my gosh, it's kind of long for a romance. 373 pages. Kind of big for a romance, but I think it's like billionaire romance, so maybe it has a little bit more depth. I don't know. We'll see. But looking forward to it nonetheless. I have 2 series that I had put on my TBR for last month that I didn't get to, so sorry for the repeats, but The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and actually A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Holly Black, Holly Jackson. And I want to actually ask you all for a favor because this will be interesting to me. I would like to take one of these series on my honeymoon so that I can just kind of like get through it. But I don't want to do a reading vlog while I'm on my honeymoon, obviously. So which series would you all rather see me do a reading vlog on? Would you rather see A Good Girl's Guide to Murder or the Cruel Prince trilogy? Because whichever one you say that you want a reading vlog on, I'll save that one so that I can like dedicate the time to doing it. And then the other one I'll take on the honeymoon. So let me know your thoughts. But again, this trilogy is just kind of iconic. It's an OG book talk, book YouTube book. It's YA fantasy, and it's about this human who resides in a fairy court, and she has to prove herself to kind of be amongst them. But Carden, who is the prince, like despises humans. So I really just have no idea how this series is going to go. I'm sure it'll be very interesting. I've heard that it's more politics based instead of romance. So I do love romance, but sometimes the politics are super fun too. And then when you get the romance, you're like frothing for it because you've been deprived of it. So that's how I feel. We'll see if I get that out of this. And then next, like I said, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. The Holly Black and the Holly Jackson are just like, they get me a little confused when I talk about them back to back. But I just think that this is going to be such a quick read for me. And I actually have Killjoy, which is, I believe, the prequel novella to this series, coming in the mail. So I'm about to have all of them. So I'm really looking forward to it. I actually read like 3 or 4 pages of it already, and I just know it's going to be such a quick read that I'm going to want to like fly through. So this is about Pip, who is a senior in high school, and she has to write this thesis and like this research document, and she is choosing to focus on a murder that has happened at her school and how somebody was wrongly framed for that murder. And I think the whole series follows her and like what happens as a result of that. She goes digging in places she shouldn't be and kind of how she responds to that. I am really interested and cannot wait to pick up this series. I am really deep into the YA mystery. Like, I just want to read all of them. I'm sitting in front of like my entire YA shelf right now, but I want to get into this. I want to get into the naturals. I want to get into Truly Devious. Like, I really want to just like binge some YA stuff right now. That's gonna have to happen because it'll just be like very light amongst all of these bigger fantasy books that I'm having this month as well. I have not gotten to it yet, but The Fury by Alex Michaelides, this comes out in January of next year, and I need to read it immediately. This is such a big thing that I need to do, and I think that I'm probably going to take this one to our honeymoon because it's just like a nice big floppy paperback, and it'll be like a fun thriller in the middle of everything else. I think this is the only thriller I have on my TBR for this month, so it'll be like a nice like way to break everything up. So I believe the story focuses on a woman who was a movie star, but now she is a reclusive on her own island, and she invites all of her friends out to that island for a dinner party. And then it's kind of, and then there were nun vibes. And so somebody gets murdered and everybody just kind of starts freaking out. It's giving me also Daisy Darker vibes. Not like the twist, but like how they're all on an island and they can't escape. So I think that's going to be really interesting. This is also the author of The Silent Patient and The Maidens, and I really like The Silent Patients. The Maidens was okay for me, but I love like this kind of story setup where they're all trapped together. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he does this story style and if it will differentiate from the others at all, or if it'll just kind of be like the same, you know? But again, this is like an advanced reader's copy, so it won't come out until January of next year, and I will definitely share my thoughts with you all so you can know to pick it up at that time. This tome, The Ashes in the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the third book in the Crown of Nyaxia trilogy. Well, it's not really a trilogy. The first book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and then there are 6 Scorched Roses, and that's a novella. And then there is this one. I really enjoyed The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It was such a fast-paced book for me, and I really enjoyed it. And the ending was just such a huge cliffhanger, and I'm so excited to pick back up on these characters and the story. And then also 6 Scorched Roses, I like raved about. Like, that is such a good novella. It was so well done. It really didn't feel like a novella. It felt more like just a really condensed story. And I know that's technically what novellas are, but like this one had everything. It had the plot, it had the character development, it had it all. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing the characters from that novella in here as well. But this is another like 600-page book. This is also on Kindle Unlimited. So I will probably be reading this while I am on my honeymoon because I cannot take these tomes with me in my carry-on. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It's the second in a series, so I can't really say that much about it, but if you haven't read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I feel like that's a really good entry to fantasy, even though it's a little bit bigger, but it has like the trial component where there are different trials to win this one wish from Nyaxia, the goddess. So it's just very good. I would definitely recommend picking it up, and I can't wait to get to this one. And then these last 2 books, at the beginning of this year, had 5 books that I really wanted to get to in 2023. I've read one of them. So I'm trying to like get myself to pick up the other 4 before the year is over, but they're also just very intimidating books. So I have put 2 of them on this TBR to hopefully encourage myself to get to them. First, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This was like, I think, the book of 2022. So I am really interested in it. The book opens on 2 children who are spending a lot of time in this children's hospital, and they bond over gaming. And then it follows them throughout the course of their life and how gaming, I think, is like a central component to their relationship, but then there's also a bunch of other dynamics going on as well. I think it's literary fiction, but I've heard that it makes people cry. It's just a more intense book, but also the writing is really beautiful. So I've just heard really good reviews about this, and I need to get to it. I hope that I get to this. I hope so. Babel by R.F. Kuang. I want to take the time in November, I think once I get back from my honeymoon, to really go through this book because I think that it is going to be so impactful. I'm currently reading If We Were Villains by ML Rio, and I'm really enjoying the dark academia aspect of it. And so I think if I can get into this book the same way that I'm getting into that book, it'll be good. So I've just heard such good things about it. It is just so intimidating though, and I'm really, really hopeful to get just a deeper appreciation like for dark academia, for R.F. Kuang's writing. I haven't read one of her books yet, and I really, really want to, and I need to, and I've heard that this one is just so good. So the highlights when I think about this one, dark academia, we're in London, and they are at like a language college. They're focusing on the study of language, many other deeper topics that I'm just not familiar with at this point. So when I get to that, I'll definitely talk about it, but just such good things I think are going to be happening in this one. And those are the 10 books that I hope to get to in the month of November. This is a very intense stack. Honestly, it stresses me out looking at it because there are such big books. And sometimes I get discouraged when there are big books because I think I could have read at least 2 books in the time that it took me to read this one. But I think all of these are going to be very well worth it in the end. So if there are any books in this stack that you all think that I should pick up first, please let me know. This will go up before November, so I have time to kind of figure out how I'm going to go in this reading order for this month. But if you saw any books that you're really excited about or you have read, please let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, this is a very intimidating stack, and I need all the encouragement I can get to them. Thanks for watching this video, and also in the comments, let me know what book you're most excited to read in November. I love hearing what everybody else is reading, so let me know. So thanks for hanging out with me, and happy reading in November. I look forward to it and sharing all of it with you. So I'll see you all in the next one.